My name is David Mercer, and I was 38 years old when my father laughed in front of our entire family and called me nobody. Strangely, that wasn't the moment that hurt the most. By then, I had spent nearly 20 years getting used to being invisible. Growing up, my younger sister Claire was always the center of attention. She was beautiful, outgoing, and effortlessly charming. Every school award, birthday, holiday, or family gathering somehow became another reason for everyone to celebrate her. I wasn't jealous. I simply stopped expecting the same treatment. While Claire dreamed about luxury vacations and designer clothes, I dreamed about serving something greater than myself. At 19, I enlisted in the Navy. My father called it a waste of potential. "You'll be taking orders your whole life," he had said. I smiled, packed my bags, and left anyway. The military became my family. It taught me discipline, responsibility, and something I'd never truly experienced at home: earning respect through actions instead of appearances. Over the years, I accepted assignments that took me around the world. Some lasted weeks, others lasted months. Most of what I worked on couldn't be discussed outside secure rooms. Even after moving into senior leadership positions, I rarely talked about my career. Not because I was ashamed, but because I had signed an oath, and because I believed real service never needed applause. Whenever relatives asked what I did, I simply smiled. "I work for the Department of the Navy." That answer was always enough for me. Unfortunately, everyone filled in the blanks themselves. My parents decided I had some ordinary government desk job. Claire often joked that I was probably organizing paperwork while real heroes protected the country. Everyone laughed. I never corrected her. Eventually, correcting people stopped feeling worth the effort. Then Claire announced her engagement. Her fiancé, Lieutenant Marcus Webb, was a highly respected Navy SEAL officer with an impressive service record. From that day forward, my parents proudly told everyone that Marcus was the greatest military success our family had ever seen. Every conversation somehow returned to him, his deployments, his medals, his leadership. No one ever asked about mine. A week before the engagement party, my father finally called. "Your mother thinks you should come," he said flatly. "It'll look strange if one son is missing." Not because they wanted me there, because appearances mattered. I arrived wearing a plain gray suit while everyone else admired decorations, champagne, and the enormous engagement display. Relatives greeted me politely before drifting back toward Claire and Marcus. I didn't mind. Standing quietly near the refreshments had become familiar territory. Then my father tapped his glass for attention. He wrapped one arm proudly around Claire before smiling at Marcus. "Our future son-in-law deserves to meet everyone important," he announced. His eyes landed on me. A smirk crossed his face. "Oh, and before anyone gets confused," he laughed, "I suppose I should introduce my older son." Several guests chuckled. Then he shrugged and said loudly enough for the entire room to hear, "He's nobody." The laughter grew louder. I took a slow breath, preparing to quietly walk away. But before my father could say another word, Lieutenant Marcus Webb looked directly at me, and everything about his expression suddenly changed. For a brief second, nobody noticed. Everyone was still smiling, still expecting Marcus to politely shake my hand and continue listening to my father's introduction. Instead, he froze. His eyes narrowed slightly, as if searching through a memory he hadn't expected to find. Then recognition appeared across his face. Without saying a single word, he stepped back. His posture straightened instantly. His shoulders squared. Every movement became precise, professional, military. The conversations around us faded into confused silence. Even my father stopped speaking. Then, in one smooth motion, Lieutenant Marcus Webb raised a perfect salute. Not a casual greeting, not a joke, a formal military salute. Every guest stared in complete disbelief. His voice was calm, respectful, and carried across the room. "Good evening, Admiral Mercer." My father's smile disappeared. "It is an honor to see you again, sir." Nobody laughed anymore. The room became so quiet I could hear glasses being set down on nearby tables. I looked at him for a moment before returning the salute. "At ease, Lieutenant," I said with a small smile. "We're off duty." "Yes, sir." Only then did he lower his hand. My sister blinked several times. "Wait, Admiral?" She looked from Marcus to me as though expecting someone to explain the joke. There has to be some mistake. There isn't, Marcus answered calmly. My father forced out an awkward laugh. Come on, son. You don't have to play along. I'm not playing along, sir. His voice remained respectful, but there was no uncertainty in it. I recognized Admiral David Mercer the moment I saw him. Confused whispers spread throughout the room. One of my uncles frowned. David? An admiral? Marcus nodded. Yes, sir. He turned back toward the guests. Several years ago, I attended an advanced joint leadership conference. Admiral Mercer delivered one of the most respected strategic presentations I've ever witnessed. I felt every pair of eyes shift toward me. Marcus continued, his operational planning has been studied in leadership programs across multiple commands. Someone quietly asked, You're saying people actually study his work? They do. He smiled. My class certainly did. Another guest spoke up. So you've worked together? Not directly, he shook his head, but many officers spend years hoping they'll have the opportunity. My sister's confident smile had completely disappeared. She looked at me as if she had never seen me before. But you never said any of this. I answered softly because no one asked. Silence followed. Not uncomfortable silence, reflective silence, the kind that forces people to rethink everything they believed only moments earlier. My father finally cleared his throat. If all of this is true, why would someone like David never mention it? I met his eyes for the first time that evening, because respect loses its meaning the moment you have to demand it. No one spoke. Then Marcus turned respectfully toward my father. Sir. He paused just long enough for everyone to look at him with the greatest respect. His voice remained calm. I believe you've spent years underestimating the most accomplished person standing in this room. The silence that followed felt louder than every laugh that had filled the room just minutes before. No one moved. The music had stopped without anyone noticing. Conversations had vanished. Even the waiters stood frozen, unsure whether they should continue serving drinks. My father looked around the room, searching for someone to laugh with him. Nobody did. For the first time in my life, he looked uncertain. Claire finally broke the silence. David, why didn't you tell us? Her voice wasn't angry. It was confused, almost desperate. I looked at my younger sister and answered honestly. I never hid anything. She frowned. Then why didn't we know? Because none of you ever wanted to know. Those words landed harder than I intended, but they were true. Every holiday, every birthday, every family dinner had followed the same pattern. Everyone talked. No one asked. Whenever I came home between assignments, the conversation always returned to someone else's achievements. Claire's promotions, my cousin's new business, my father's golf tournaments. By the time anyone remembered I was sitting there, dinner was already over. I had simply stopped competing for attention. Claire lowered her eyes. I never realized. I know. Lieutenant Marcus stood quietly beside her before speaking. In the military, we learned something very early. Everyone looked toward him. The strongest leaders rarely spend time proving they're important. He smiled politely. They're usually too busy doing their jobs. Several relatives exchanged embarrassed glances. My aunt stepped forward first. David, I'm sorry. Another uncle nodded. So am I. One apology became another, not dramatic, not emotional, just honest. My father remained silent longer than anyone else. Finally, he walked toward me. For years, he had always seemed larger than life. At that moment, he simply looked like an aging father, realizing how much he had missed. I judged success by what everyone could see, he admitted quietly. The promotions, the attention, the applause. He shook his head. I never stopped to notice quiet success. I smiled gently. It's never too late to notice. His eyes filled with regret. I owe you an apology. You do. I spent years making you feel invisible. You did. I'm sorry. The words were simple. There were no excuses, no blaming anyone else, just accountability. I placed a hand on his shoulder. I forgive you. His eyes lifted hopefully. But forgiveness doesn't erase years of favoritism. He nodded slowly. I understand. Claire stepped closer. I'm sorry too. I know. She hesitated. Can we start over? I smiled. Starting over isn't about pretending the past never happened. It's about making different choices from today forward. She nodded. I'd like that. The engagement celebration eventually continued. People laughed again, but this time the laughter felt lighter, kinder. Before leaving, Marcus walked me to the door. Thank you for your service, Admiral. I smiled. Thank you for yours, Lieutenant. He saluted once more. I returned it. Then I walked into the cool evening air. For years, I had believed respect came from rank. Life eventually taught me something better. Titles earn attention. Character earns trust. And true dignity never needs to announce itself. It simply waits for the truth to arrive.